How you doing, YouTube? Matt, Massive Beer Reviews, back with yet another review. A little bit of really old school meeting the really new school in the form of Carton Brewing's Inside Our DNA. I really wanted to review this beer. I get Carton stuff in and around my area, but it's usually kind of their staple stuff. But I was just walking around and I saw this beer and I grabbed it. Assumed it was going to be a brewery only thing. Ended up grabbing it, taking it home. I'm reviewing it immediately. Why do you say I'm so excited? Well, you know, I like me some Carton beers, but there's a history around this beer. We'll dive into it and we'll talk about it because I just like to talk. So as far as what it says on a can, it says Inside Our DNA, Oak Age India Pale Ale, 6.6% alcohol by volume. On the side here, it says Inside Our DNA is a reminder of New Jersey's brewing prodigy of our deep and proud roots. A straight tribute to the first American IPA. We applauded what we learned of modern brewing to respectfully pull the classic into today. A traditional grain bill fermented with Newark's yeast stolen back from the West Coast. The resulting beer was aged on oak, then late addition hopped with distillation of oils of bullion hops. Have it right now or years from now. It's as tenacious as the brewers of Newark that inspired it. Either way, drink Inside Our DNA and remember where you come from, son. So almost a year to the day this beer is actually a year to the day this beer is canned. This beer was canned 8/15/18. It's a little bit past that, but that's when this was actually canned. Literally a year to the day earlier, Augie, a Carton of Carton Brewing, actually shot me a Facebook message. Never talked to him on Facebook before, and he's like, "Hey, dude," and he was just kind of mentioned review stuff real quick, and he's like, "Can you keep a secret?" And he told me about making this beer, and he was talking about, you know, bringing back the old Ballantine yeast. That's what he was talking about in here, that Ken Grossman stole years ago, somehow got it, and kind of steal it back, and he wanted to basically kind of make his version, an homage, if you will, to the Ballantine IPA. That's what he alludes to on there. So he got that kind of old school Chico yeast and did his own little thing with it and kind of threw it in. I believe it's the first run of the foeder he ended up getting. But yeah, he ended up writing me. He's like, "Can you keep a secret?" And then he ended up spilling his guts about this and how he was gonna, you know, fuck with this beer. And it's kind of really a kicker to him about kind of getting back to the Jersey roots. So it was cool, just, you know, to hear the enthusiasm around the beer. But nothing happened. And almost a year later, I find a beer that's in the can, the exact date when he mentions the beer, which is really bizarre. Long intro over. Let's chug the fucking beer. As far as the can goes, it's, you know, typical Carton stylings. You know what I mean? You got the old school kind of brew house there. What do we have on the front here? You know, I don't know. Looks like a concert going on. Is what it is. A whole bunch of stuff in there. But yeah, we dig it. And it's got that Inside Our DNA. You can see it's kind of wood etched. So getting a whole foeder jams going on there. So I'm kind of excited to give this a whirl. So you're talking about, it's a foeder base. And when they say oak aged, right? What is it? Oak aged India Pale Ale with bullion hops, old school kind of hops, bittering kind of herbal kind of hops, and that old school kind of Chico yeast. It's about 2 weeks old, give or take, a little bit over 2 weeks old at the time of this filming. Pinky finger, you know, just off Whitehead, just south of Khaki. Pretty, you know, not uniform, not neurotic bubbles throughout. It's got a soft taste or a rich darkness, kind of like a washed out kind of caramel kind of color to her. So does she look like an IPA? Sure. Like a little bit of the haziness and a little bit of the old school, new schoolish kind of bits and pieces. Let's get a nose. Ooh, that's fruity, man. That's fruity, but man, I expected this to come off a little bit more bittering, a little bit more spicy, a little bit more herbal, but I'm getting like a fruitiness, but it's not like a crazy like hop fruitiness. It might even be that yeast at work. It's almost like a plumminess. It's not like a Belgian dark fruitiness. It's like a more of, oh, it's weird in a good way. Yeah, you're definitely getting a little bit of soft vanilla in there. You're getting a little bit of that wood in there. You're getting a nice kind of vanilla off it, actually. But there's this nice, there's a little bit of spiciness to it. It's almost coming off peppery to me. And then you get this little bit of fruitiness in there that is not your typical hop fruitiness. It's not that kind of, you know, citrus this and grapefruit that, stone fruit, all that stuff. It's a little bit more kind of plummy. A little bit more kind of pitted fruit, not stone fruit, you know? I like it. diving, almost a little smoky too. Just a little bit. Cheers. Yeah, that's a fun beer. It's definitely an old school beer. I mean, they literally lay that out to you on the can. It's definitely a spicy beer. It's not pepper spiciness. It's just that kind of generic kind of hop spiciness. So a little bit of a kind of like an herbal vibe to it. That fruity thing I was getting on the nose, I'm not getting as much, or if at all, on the taste. I'm dominated by the dryness of the oak, a little bit of soft vanilla, and that spiciness. So it ends up being a very dry beer. Fucking super bomb mouthfeel. Super creamy, super fluffy, but not in the way that a lot of these hazies are. This is all just like, no, it's not even that. I was going to say it's kind of more like a creaminess, kind of like you get off a Doppelbock, but it's not to that level. But it's not that kind of dense, turbid, kind of hazy IPA kind of creaminess. It's more just a soft, that wood, the way the wood kind of plays with that yeast, it just ends up coming off. Super fluffy. And I like it. I mean, bittering to the end, but not over bittering. It's not palate smacking. Sure, you get that dryness from the wood, the dryness of the yeast that makes you want to go back for more, but it's not overly drying. There is a little bit of soft fruitiness beyond those hops now. Each sip I take, I get a little bit more, but it's definitely kind of a third player, a bit player, supporting actor, actress. It's not necessarily meant to be the star of the show. The star of the show here is the wood and the yeast. And the way that bittering, I don't even want to say simple bittering, but the way the bittering from now is kind of bouillon hop oils kind of work and kind of make you respect all the bits and pieces of the beer. You know, it's kind of one of those things where, like, I just interviewed actually his co-host John Hall for my podcast, and one of the things John Hall kind of emphasized in his new book was talking about respecting all the ingredients across beer. And you lose a lot of times. Sure, hops are in the forefront, but you know, malt and yeast really don't get as much play, and even water doesn't get as much play unless you're talking about sours or Belgians or something like this. But this is almost like a kind of three-part thing. You're getting that classic Atlantic Highlands water table that Augie loves so much, combined with the way the malt and that yeastiness in the wood, and all the bits and pieces of this beer are kind of equally represented in a fun way. Is it going to go... Are you going to go bonkers for it if you're in this super new school hazy IPAs? I don't know. I mean, if you can respect the old school stuff, you will. Are you going to go crazy for it if you're into kind of wooded beers? Maybe. You know, the wood play is really fun. It's more of classic Carton. You know, it's them doing recipes that are a little bit outside of the normal, a little bit more fun, fuckdoggery, if you will, than just let's see what the people want. This is more let's give the people what they don't know they want kind of thing. So it's not gonna hit a mark for everybody, but for someone like me, my grandfather used to be a picker packer shipper at Ballantine back in the day. So to have that combination of that with them bringing that beer back, and you get that kind of old school, there's a little bit of connection there. You know what I mean? So that in of itself, just, it's like a song, you know, you connect to it, it kind of makes sense to you. So I dig it. I like it. I think it's fun. Man, long review, huh? They happen from time to time. So let's talk about it. Is it one of the better IPAs I've had as of late? One of the better ones? No. One of the more funner ones? Yes. I mean, that's kind of a theme when it comes to Carton. I usually kind of sneak that in there quite a bit, but it is. They do the things that kind of pique my interest outside of what is viscerally knee-jerk delicious. Bag availability, this is $16 for a 4-pack. Pick mine off a shelf and leave you with, if you like what we like this. If you like, you know, pretty much like old school IPAs, English style bittered IPAs, not necessarily the level of ESB, but you also dig a little bit of depth, birth, and complexity, because the way that kind of wood plays, the way the yeast works, it makes it as a rich, big beer that is, you know, strong, powerful, but at the same time has very soft edges on it. So it's pretty welcoming stuff. So if you dig those kind of things, you'll dig this. There you go. Another review in the books. down there if you want to talk about it. Massive Beers if you want to check me out doing the social media stuff. Beer Massive if you want to check me out doing whole podcasting stuff. Interview Augie on it a couple times, actually. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully enjoying a nice little inside our DNA right now. And hope to see you next time. Cheers.